It's Grace, back with another yoga tip. In December I'll be sharing a video every day of the month. Chaturanga Dandasana. Everyone seems to either love or hate this pose. I feel pretty mixed about them. I also have a love-hate relationship with it. Sorry, something going on with the camera really quick. Okay. I love them because they're strengthening. It's a great transition pose. It's easy to fill in spaces in a sequence as a teacher. Chaturangas are great for that. But I don't like them because it's difficult to maintain alignment. They can create a lot of pain in the neck and the shoulders when they're misunderstood. And I love Chaturanga when it's understood. I dislike Chaturanga when it's not understood properly. One of the biggest components in this posture that makes it so challenging for people is they really aren't understanding the structure of the shoulder or all of the muscles that are active in this pose. So really briefly, just for a moment, I kind of look at the shoulder blades. Now if I were to take my arms out in front of me as if I were in a plank pose, I would be in protraction, meaning my shoulder blades are wrapping wide around my rib cage. They are separating from each other, and I end up with this hollow armpit. I don't know if you can kind of see it's hollow in this space. Whereas a lot of people just start here and not really protracted or retracted, they're kind of just resting on their arm, and that makes it really hard. Your body's really heavy and your arms are small in comparison, so if you're not really putting your shoulder into protraction, it's going to make a push-up really difficult. On your way down, you're bending the elbows and retracting the shoulder blades. Now my shoulder blades are moving toward each other, and they're hugging right around the ribs the whole time. When I move from protraction to retraction, they're hugging the ribs the whole time. A lot of the time when people get into it, they kind of wing their shoulder blades off of their back. That's gonna make it really tricky. It's gonna make it really damaging for your shoulder blades, and it's not good. So we really want to stay away from that winged shoulder blade. Instead, we want to protract about a quarter of the way down, retract about halfway down, and then stop. No lower than halfway down. There isn't any benefit from lowering more than halfway down that is greater than the destruction that could occur by lowering more than halfway down. So now let's talk about all of the muscles that are engaged in a push-up. We've got our hip flexors engaged. So if you remember from a video earlier in the week, hip flexors pull the hip or the thigh, the leg, forward and up. It's flexing the hip. And there's gonna be muscles helping with that flexion that are active all the way down to the knee. You've got your transverse abdominals active, a really deep core muscle, very close to the spine. This is gonna help with lower back support. A lot of the time people kind of end up in an extension, almost like they're in cow pose, and we want the spine to be straight. We're using the pectoral major, nice big muscles in the chest. We're using anterior deltoid at the front of the shoulder. We're using triceps, the back of the upper arm, and most importantly to mention is the serratus anterior, because this is what's going to help you with the protraction, and the rhomboids is going to help you with the retraction. So your serratus anterior is connecting underneath your scapula, which we just talked about, that shoulder blade. It's connecting under the scapula, under the armpit, around the ribs, to the front of the chest, or to the front of the ribs. And then your rhomboids are in between your shoulder blades, and their job is to pull the shoulder blades toward each other. So on the inhale, or when you're in a plank, you would be protracting, and then when you would exhale through your chaturanga, you'd be retracting the shoulder blades. Protraction, retraction, protraction, retraction. Now all of those other muscles being active is going to help you in that process of protraction, retraction, protraction, retraction. Just for the sake of keeping in mind that it's really from knee to neck, I'm going to show a kneeling push-up or a kneeling chaturanga instead of from the toes today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using this yoga block as a prop to aid in showing how we can work into a safe chaturanga without being able to get to that point where we might start to hurt ourselves. So this block is going to stop me if I start to go too low. I'm going to start higher up because I think this is a good place to begin for people. You're not going to go as low in the pose, and it's still going to be very, very challenging. So I'm going to begin at a kneeling plank. The block is going to be between my palms, and instead of lifting my knees, or I'm sorry, lifting my feet and putting all of my pressure in my knee and encouraging hip extension, I'm going to keep my feet down, push my feet and shins as hard into the ground as I can to put my hip into more of a flexion action. Then I'm going to pull my ribs and pelvis toward each other to smooth out the low back and push my hands to the ground to bring the shoulder blades broad into protraction. I'm then going to extend the neck instead of dropping it, which is going to alleviate any neck tension that I might get from push-ups. So I'm going to inhale, push away. On my exhale, I'm going to keep my shoulder blades on my ribs and pull the elbows back until I hit the block. Then I'm going to inhale, push up. Exhale, I'm going to keep pushing my shins, my feet into the ground. So once you start getting comfortable with lowering down that little bit, we can flip the block here. And we can get a little bit lower. And this is as low as you'll ever need to go for chaturanga, because we do not want our shoulders dipping forward in the pose. We want to keep our shoulders long so that our arm ends up at more of a L shape, not quite 90 degrees, but it's ish, 90s-ish. And this is where most people are. They're dropping the shoulder, either looking up like this, or they're dropping their head down. And that's going to be really destructive. Same thing, I'm going to take the block between my palms, press through the ground with my feet, my shins, my palms, pulling my ribs and pelvis toward each other to strengthen the belly. This is my inhale. As I exhale, I'm going to kind of lean forward and lower down to the block. Inhale to push up. A bit of weight resistance. Exhale to lower down. Inhale to push up. And so on and so forth. This is Inara, my kitty, or my cousin's kitty that I am so lucky to get to spend time with. She lives with